Talking about YouTube shopping, how does that work?
You put up a video and link it up to products which are available on Flipkart, Myntra, Nykaa, any of these platforms, and you actually make commission. My channel on average generates close to 1.5-2 lakhs of sales a month.
Damn.
I'll put like 3 to 4 shots a month, and that's how much it's generating.
I saw your Shark Tank pitch.
Our ask is 1 crore for 2% equity.
The ways to build a business around kids content is far bigger. Last April 25, we were at about 1,000 subs. By August, we were at 1 million subscribers.
Crazy.
As of this recording today morning, we hit 2 million subscribers.
Crazy.
70% of people who watch a video of ours stay to watch the whole video. So what are the metrics we focus on?
What mistakes do you think creators make when it comes to scale?
Creators look at views and followers as scale. And it's a very bad metric because the way we will grow as a business is through these 3 engines. A screen is where they start, then their stage, which is live in person, and product which people connect with. I don't believe all creators are meant to be entrepreneurs. Because it's very easy to say I have distribution, people buy anything I sell. They will not. People are very smart. It's very easy for a creator to get into the room with brand and get a deal from them. What you have to think about is after that first deal, how do you retain that client? If I had to break it down,
Varun, welcome to Digitek Presents, the Creator Room.
thank you for having me. I know it's taken a while to set this one up, but I'm happy you're doing it.
No, absolutely. And I think we are one of the very early people in the podcasting space doing podcast.
Small niche community where people are like, does anybody listen to podcasts? And now it's like,
YouTube is pretty much podcast now.
Yeah.
Talking about YouTube, we're talking about this very interesting stuff about YouTube shopping. So can you talk a little bit about that?
YouTube shopping basically is a very interesting funnel
Affiliate.
which is so underleveraged.
Really?
I was having this conversation with someone about my YouTube channel because I'd built it to about 130, 140k subscribers with the podcast. But I'd stopped doing the podcast because it just was too much time, energy, effort. And so I was talking to someone and they said, why aren't you doing YouTube shopping? Because my Instagram content had evolved into more lifestyle.
Okay.
Because I'm going to be 44 this year.
Really?
I'm going to be 44 this year. And most times I get this question about saying, okay, what do you do for your health? And what do you do for your fitness? Where do you buy your clothes? Where do you get the sneaker? So I started to create content around how to pick the right white t-shirt or how to, choose different outfits, how to put an outfit together for a specific thing. I was making these reels and that had done really well. Right? It's literally scaled. I think when I started to do it, my Instagram was about 300k odd followers and had grown to now about 409 as of this recording. So, but I was like, can I just drop that on my YouTube? Because my YouTube was just lying there. So I would just drop these reels there as YouTube shorts. And then someone from YouTube had kind of connected and said, why don't you try YouTube shopping? Which is basically you can put up a video and link it up to products which are available on a Flipkart, on a Myntra, any of these platforms. So you can just link it up. It doesn't have to be the exact same product. It can be a similar product. And if someone clicks on it and goes to YouTube shopping, goes to the platform through YouTube shopping, for a certain period of time, you actually make commission. You might make 10%, 5%, 30% in some cases, 50% in some cases. And so what ended up happening was I just did that and I left it. And every month, for 3-4 of those I would drop. And now in the last 3-4 months, I've been tracking and seeing that that's actually generating considerable amount of sales. My channel on average generates for Myntra alone close to 1.5-2 lakhs of sales a month. I make anything between 10 to 30% on that for doing no extra effort apart from tagging the products and just leaving it there. And the beauty of YouTube, as it always is that a video I uploaded in August is still making me revenue today. So that's, I think, a very under-tapped piece.
I think that absolutely makes sense because I've seen, people talk a little bit about YouTube shopping here and there, but I've not really met somebody who have actually used it and have some, revenue. And I think a lot of tech creators are doing it.
But actually what YouTube does, right, and it's great. So if you go on a YouTube studio and if you have shopping activated, there's actually show you what the deals are right now. Where they'll say, okay, these products are available right now. You can get this much discount on it to buy yourself. And then when you put it out there, you can also, for instance, get this much commission on it. So even for a creator who has to continue to get products to showcase them, you're getting them at a large discount. Like when I started last August, there was only Flipkart and Myntra on it. Tira, Nykaa, Purple all came along the way. And I think it'll just continue to grow with these kind of platforms coming in. A lot of brands today, if you are in a category which involves a product, will say, okay, you made this video, gives us awareness, but we also want to push it for purchase. So can we use this as an ad unit, right? Are you allowing the brand to promote it for purchase? And I'm
So
actually
this is a collab with you. And
this is when you do a collab and then you allow them to promote it by putting some money behind it. And even Instagram themselves have really spoken about the fact that this does not affect your reach, doesn't affect your, because the worry used to be
no.
a brand boost karega, so then
Do you believe in that?
Not anymore. It hasn't affected mine.
It hasn't. Okay.
I have actually seen that many times when a brand would promote a post I have collaborated with them on. If it's a piece of content that actually gives value, I've had follower increase, I've had reach increase, I've had impression increase. I mean, the only thing is if somebody doesn't like it, they'll unfollow you. But largely, I've only seen a positive out of it, especially in the last 6-9 months. Because before that, I didn't do too much of it.
Yeah.
But what I'm seeing now is you can actually track how many purchases have been done through them promoting it. So even as a creator today, I can say, okay, I did this with a brand. They obviously, because they put some money behind it beyond what I organically got them, it's gotten these many views. But now I can also see how much did people actually buy from it. So when I'm planning the next piece of content, it will also give me perspective on, okay, drop off happened here, and purchases are these many. So maybe this part can be reused as a hook or as a starting point for anything else.
Yeah.
So it's I mean, it is a science.
If you were coaching or mentoring a 25-year-old creator who wants to build a creator brand, would you suggest him to start an agency or build a content IP or the product? Why in one line and then the playbook?
Pick a niche. Pick a very, very pick a hyper niche of something which the audience you want to cultivate really cares about. Build content around it in multiple ways.
Yeah.
And once you've grown that to a certain level of, okay, these guys really connect with me on this part, then you will find a way to monetize it. But if you don't pick the hyper niche first and you start making general content to build an audience, it becomes far tougher for you tomorrow to figure out how to make money out of it. So really bring it on that one clear thing that people come to you for is the most important aspect. It depends on the category of creator you are. It becomes easier if you're product focused as a creator like me now, where a product is a part of your content, so it becomes easier to figure out how to integrate it into every piece of content. But let's say you are someone who's talking about a personal development, or someone talking about finance or wealth. Are you continually creating for one focus area in a way that in this category, when the first names that comes up is you, then it's very easy for you to find ways to make money out of it.
Correct.
But you should not say, oh, people are making money in 10 ways. I will do all these 10, so I can make money in 10 ways. That won't happen. You'll never scale in one. So I'd rather say focus on one very tiny audience set, and you will be surprised how big that audience can actually be.
You interact with a lot of creators today. What mistakes do you think creators make when it comes to scale?
I feel creators sometimes look at views and followers as scale. And I feel views and followers are very bad metric to look at for scale, because I actually think the wider you go, the less you can have focused content. Like, you will know exactly what you're making if you're focused. But if you're making everything for everyone, then you're technically not making it for anyone.
Correct.
So my expectations of content are not like every video will get to 1 million or even like 100K, right? My expectations will get 30-50K views, but very focused in terms of just engagement, reach and all that stuff. I think a lot of creators look at the vanity ones a lot more.
Correct.
Because it is, I mean, we all want the vanity metric. We all want that. We want the subscriber number.
Correct.
We want that. But at the end of the day, it is who you're making it for should define what your metrics of success are. But the other thing I also feel is that we focus far too less on who that person is that we're making it for. We kind of feel like people are one-dimensional. So, we went through this phase, right? Like, are you a finance content creator? Are you a health content creator? Are you a lifestyle creator? But I'm like, who you're making content for is an individual.
Correct.
If you think of yourself as someone who's saying, what all interests that person? What all are their problems? What are they looking for? What do they find entertaining? Can I solve for all of them? That still works.
Yeah.
It'll make you more personality based.
Correct.
But that's what I enjoy more, because it doesn't make me stick to one bucket.
Yeah.
and you can actually hold multiple roles within their life.
Mm.
And it does one very important thing. It's that every 6 odd months you realize the algo really changes what works, right?
Yeah.
But if you're making for different sides of a person, for 6 months this part will work, 6 months this part will work, and you will also find things about yourself that you really enjoy. So you got to understand where your audience is in this point of time in the life and the world around them.
You spoke about vanity metrics, right?
Mm.
Like for any creator who's building their audience, how do they decide that the audience or the numbers that they are growing is actually going to help them grow the business versus it's just a vanity metric?
If you are a creator who relies largely on brand deals, let's take that example.
Yeah.
You have to think about, is the content I'm making something a brand would want to be a part of?
Okay.
So sometimes your formats have to tweak towards that. Brands also want to associate with people, especially in today's time, whose personality fits what their audience finds aspirational. It's not about, you might be a person who might get 1 million views on a piece of content and somebody else might only get like 50K. But if that 50K views come from people who the brand wants to really target, that is more important to them. And brands have gotten smarter about that.
Yeah.
Like they'll want those metrics. They want to know which cities, age category. They also want to know who responds to your content.
Yeah, correct.
They also want to add a little bit of aspiration to their brand. So they'll turn to someone and say, one second, okay, can you talk about this? And so you have to think about what is it that you do that either becomes aspirational or in some form relatable to the consumer and to the brand.
So how are you seeing the whole space of a lot of creators now, getting into the agency model and trying and building agency?
The barrier of entry to build an agency has, I think, if I look at the last, 20 years, that's just gone down, right? Before, it was very tough for anyone to build an agency. Like we didn't start Glitch to become an agency. Glitch was a production company. Because Rohit and I came from MTV and Channel V, and what we knew was production. That's how the company started. Literally, there was no business plan, nothing.
Okay.
But I feel today, because social platforms and creators today can show that, okay, I know what works for audiences.
Correct.
In that hyper niche, can I build an agency? Then I feel that works. Neil does this really with his, he started an agency, right? Focused on the Marathi audience. Just Neil Things.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great niche to pick up because I create content that works for a very specific audience. I understand that core audience really well. Nobody in the bigger set is focused on them. Let me do this. And that makes total sense to me. Like he's picked a niche and he's gotten deep into it and a brand will come to him to engage with that audience. The problem becomes if you think, I want to be exactly like, let's say I want to be a Shabang, I want to be a Talented, I want to be, anyone in that category. Then you have the experience of it because I don't believe all creators are meant to be entrepreneurs. Because you being CEO involves you doing a lot of other things that aren't necessarily your skill set as a creator. And if you go broader again and building agencies, and because you think it's a great revenue stream, let's be honest, it's very easy for a creator to get into the room with a brand and get a deal from them. What you have to think about is after that first deal, how do you retain that client? How do you build multiple kinds of assets? Like an agency grows when you are not monetizing 100 clients in the same way. It actually is the opposite. How can you monetize one client in 100 ways? Right. And that's what we did. We had actually systems saying we will not have more than a certain number of clients.
Okay.
Because that just stretches our people. We'd rather go deeper with clients. So if you're working with Netflix, how can we do more and more and more things with just Netflix? So what are the different services we can offer them? So the whole point is, if you're already comfortable with an agency and they can do most things for you, the chances of you shopping somewhere else becomes lesser.
Less, correct.
But that lens requires you to be an agency person. That needs you to think, okay, this is your problem, let me solve it for you. And unless you have that mindset, I don't know if it's the right choice for a creator to make to start an agency. Either you're hyper niche or you have that mindset, or just have a good co-founder. You can be the face and bring in the client, and the co-founder can take care of running the business, which I think always works.
I saw your Shark Tank pitch, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you guys did great job. And what really stood out to me was like they are building something, insane, and everybody got to be part of it, right?
Happy it came out that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of creators, while they might be doing great in terms of like their numbers and stuff like that, but when it comes to presenting it or talking it or painting that picture, three things.
Yeah.
How creators can really take this notch higher.
If I go back on the Shark Tank experience, it did one thing for us. Before I get into the three things, is that the Shark Tank team is phenomenal at making you work on simplifying what you're saying in a way that everybody gets it. Because most times you'll be in a room with, let's say, a VC or an investor or a brand, and you tend to use jargon, you make it more complicated than it has to be. And their whole point was that first 60-second pitch that you do has to be simple enough for anyone to understand. You need to be very clear as a creator, if you are presenting it to someone, is that while today you are this, you need to show them not just what it can become, but how you can get there. What oftentimes happens is, okay, I'm a creator, I have this audience. Tomorrow I can maybe get into this many people as an audience. Great, but how are you going to get there? So we're very clear that this is the IP. This is how it will scale first. This is how it will then grow beyond that. This is how it will start making money. These are all the touch points you will hit. These are all the metrics we are seeing today that give you proof beyond what I'm saying that we can get there. We showed a simple metric, the fact that we were not just an India audience. India at that point in time, when we recorded the Shark Tank episode, was 17% of our audience. Philippines and US are both higher.
Yeah.
Post Shark Tank, India is now 24% of our audience, 25% of our audience. We were very clear, this is the markets we're focusing on. We are in those markets. This is the retention we want to hold. This has worked. And then we spoke about the pipeline of what's coming up ahead. And you also have to have deep clarity in terms of what problem you're solving for the end consumer. And so we were very clear, okay, if I had to break it down, how are we going to get to our vision very clearly?
Yeah.
What are the key metrics that quantify that we can get to that?
Number 2, yeah.
And number 3, how do we know that this journey will be monetized not in just one way, but in multiple ways? Because that's what being an agency founder teaches you.
Correct.
No agency founder will say, this is the only way I'll make money.
Correct.
We are always hedging our bets on 10 things. Saying,
Correct.
so you take the same thing into everything you do, saying, I have 10 things to say.
Offer. Yeah,
I will not offer you only one thing.
If any young creator who's already built the distribution comes to you and says that, Varun, I want to now build like the agency of new age or whatever that is. What would you advise, and where do you think there are opportunities, if any?
I would say build anything that can become a part of your content and not something that changes your content. I don't think every creator needs to start an agency. Can you make it a part of what you create? So suddenly people don't start coming to you and seeing something else altogether.
Yeah.
If you're a comedy creator and you suddenly start selling fashion,
correct,
it's not that the comedy audience will suddenly start buying your product, right? And that amount of self-awareness is important because it's very easy to say I have distribution, people will buy anything I sell.
Yeah.
They will not. People are very smart. They will watch your content for free. They'll swipe to the next one and they will not buy anything you sell them. Like I've known Saransh Goyal for a very long time. I think Saransh has always been someone who's been a creator first from the television times. He had Gola's Butter Chicken. Now he's a co-founder at Ember and an investor. And I feel again it's seamless, right? The Ember cookware is easily a part of his content.
Correct.
It's not a sudden plug. It's literally like what he will cook on. And so taking those decisions means that seamlessly whatever you are creating should become a part of your content.
Got it. So from your own personal brand perspective, right? Like you built this brand pretty much after the exit is when you started dabbling into the whole content creation and started exploring this whole thing. What was your objective with that? Like just like dabble with it, try and understand.
Oh, why do I get content I'm just having fun. To be honest, if there is one thing I would do for free the rest of my life, I would create content.
Okay.
I got into this space for that, right? And now in hindsight, I think back because now I have a daughter who has similar interests. So like over the weekend, I was giving her tools to shoot stop motion at home. So my 8.5-year-old is shooting stop motion videos at home with toys. And I'm super excited to see what she's been creating so far. She's doing voiceover, she's doing different scenes and stuff.
Very nice.
But that was me as a kid. As a kid, I would sit in a room alone with my toys and play and come up with stories. I moved into the media space because I spent a large part of the 90s consuming MTV and Channel V and youth content. I'm like, I want to do that. So I create content because I enjoy it. If I can make money out of it and also do something I enjoy, that's the best of both worlds, is how I look at it. It started with podcasting because that was a nice way to, while you're doing an agency, and that was audio only. My Instagram content started just to promote the podcast, but then I thought I'll just have some fun. So I would just share some fitness stuff and do everything else. And so it evolves with what I'm interested in. You throw, as a creator, you throw 10 things at the wall and one of them will hopefully stick, right? So mine has thankfully stuck for now.
Now, are there any mistakes that you think that creators are making when it comes to thinking like a businessman? The common ones.
I feel creators need to be okay to be cringe. Because a lot of times you hold yourself back from doing some kind of content because you feel people will judge you for it, right? But sometimes that's exactly what might make you connect to your audience a lot more. So if you randomly want to try out doing a dance video, do a dance video. What's the worst that'll happen? People will make fun of you. You'll also laugh with them and you'll go on. I was recently at two cricket matches. I was at the India-USA match and I was at the India-Pakistan match. And the India-USA match, I shot one piece of content for fun, apart from the video I was doing there, where I basically, they say don't cross the boundary into the ground. And I was at the boundary. So I put my finger like this, I look here and there, and I poke once, and it's a very silly, stupid thing to do. And I sent that as one of the stories I would share because I went there with the team from Marriott and they'd taken me there. And then we end up, and it goes for approval to the ICC because the cricket board approves it. The ICC said, this is great. Can we put this up on Instagram and let's collaborate on it? So I ended up collaborating with the ICC on a silly video, which is me trying to say, nobody noticed me. I'll touch the ground and I've run away in 1K day. And I'm realizing that the people are okay with me being silly because there is a side of me that is very silly, which my kids see, which my friends see. But I see people seem to be okay with that. So I feel I think my movement from personal development to doing lifestyle also became me saying, why can't I be a 44-year-old who talks about fashion? Why can I not be someone in their 40s with a graying beard who talks about skincare? Right. So I'm now I'm just let go of that worry of being judged for, because you will get people who will judge. You will get those comments. You'll get
and
all
also
of that stuff.
Wearing that perception.
Yeah. And I'm like, at some point, I'm like, it's okay. It's like, that doesn't really bother me anymore. It's I'm thankfully very minimal for me. I'll occasionally get one random one saying, but someone say, bro, but you look 50. I'm like, that's fine. I do work a lot. So, shayad lag raha hu isme. But just have fun with it. And I feel that creators hold themselves way too seriously.
And also I think
let that go.
Yeah. And also the perception, right? We've had a couple of creators come here and say that, I want to be seen in certain kind of events, or I will only put the story with certain kind of people, or I'll only work with a certain kind of brand so that I can,
You can have those lines. Like I have sometimes done certain kinds of content, which in hindsight, I'm like, oh, I shouldn't do this. It doesn't work for my audience. Like I would try to sometimes do like funny. I'm not funny inherently. So whenever I try to do funny inherently, like I've scripted something and try to do a funny video, it falls flat. But I make fun of myself, always does well. That's for me, right? So you have to find what works for you and say yes or no accordingly. So saying no is very important as a creator. But that no should be built on, will this help me grow? Or is this more about my ego? And more importantly, I think creators need to just be okay to have fun. We forget that we're doing this because we also enjoy doing it and it's fun. If you become way too serious about it, business also won't grow. Because people inherently see you not having fun doing it, so they might consume you lesser also. So I think you just have fun, and I think it all the other stuff works out.
So now with EMoMee, what is that insight that really made you think like this is the right time to get into building an IP, building a brand, but first with IP in mind?
During COVID, we'd only had a daughter by then. We had a son a little later in 22, and what we actually saw was that she was consuming a lot more screen time than normally because we couldn't send her out to play. And there was not as much which was learning and entertainment combined. And that's where the business head came on saying, once again, the way to build a business around kids content is far bigger, because look at the Disney playbook, right? You can, if you create an IP, you can monetize the content. You can monetize it in person in terms of, let's say, play areas, theme parks, etc. You can monetize it through merchandise, etc. You can do licensing, syndication with consumer products. And the good part of that is that because it's a child and a parent, that consumer is never going away. We knew it had to be character based, because the day you build characters who are relatable to a child, who feel like them, who have going through life experiences like them, then the kid tends to listen to that character a lot more than they would from their own parents. And we raised capital to build the IP out, because we also knew to do this right meant that we have to build the IP and build a scale of distribution before you hyper monetize it. Also, rather monetize it the right way. I cannot tomorrow, for instance, sell a chocolate that is unhealthy. I will have to sell something which is healthy, which a parent will trust, because they trust our content. So we can't break trust. We call it the trust funnel. So we raised capital for that, and we built out the first set. We experimented with multiple sets of formats, etc. Last April, we were at about 1,000 subs. Last April 25. By August, we were at 1 million subscribers.
Crazy.
As of this recording today morning, we hit 2 million subscribers.
Crazy.
What's been great for us is the other metrics, right? 70% of people who watch a video of ours stay to watch the whole video. Don't swipe away. Our Western markets actually stay longer to watch. Eastern markets are still slight. Our main markets are India, Philippines, US. Philippines is what? India is about 25% of our audience, 24, 25. It's been growing since Shark Tank. Philippines is about, again, 25, 26%. US comes into about 20. And the rest of the world takes over the other part. But we're seeing the Western markets grow faster, a lot more, because they stay to watch duration is far longer. Like the US is our longest average view duration of any market in the world, which also helps us monetize in the long term, because we're also looking at where is the highest revenue generation from YouTube going to be. It's going to be from where the RPMs are higher. So that's going to be US, Canada, UK. So what we also realized very early on is we had started around the time when the whole AI content creation thing had kind of grown in. How do you blend that into our creation process? So we kind of figured a way to make the team smaller, use AI to kind of like build scale around it. And just so from April till Jan this year, we put up 1 video a day. Now we've started to put up longer format videos, because from April to Jan, what we did was we put YouTube shorts for kids. 1 YouTube short a day. Starting this Jan, Feb, we started to build out more longer format videos. So one of which just dropped a couple of days ago. So we're going to now do more longer videos, because what we've also started to have conversations with is multiple streaming partners across multiple regions across the world, but how we can syndicate this content to them for their platforms. So we slowly starting to start off the journey of monetizing it in different ways. But at the core, it's this. Can a kid watch a piece of content and learn something they can immediately use in their life after watching that piece of content? That is literally that is the box that has to get ticked.
And also there's a lot of conversation around like a good content for kids versus bad content. There has been a lot spoken about Cocomelon and how they use bright colors, and how do you think about those things?
So the Cocomelon formula is simple, right? Bright colors, no sharp corners, everything will have a round edge. Everything is very glossy and shiny. Nothing is pastel or muted.
Very bright.
One cut at least every 3 seconds. You will never see something a little longer.
Shorter.
Sometimes shorter. But it really holds a child. But I feel inherently what also happens is it's not like a kid's learning anything right there. I mean, so we were very focused on saying, once again, we will only do pastel. We will not do hyper fast edits, which can also slow down growth from what you would assume. But when we did spend time with kids, and we obviously tested it in front of many kids in the India region, what we actually saw was that as long as it makes them stay curious, retention will still hold. And they actually also want to know more and more and more. Like a video we just dropped is about what happens, why do your teeth fall out? Right. Very relatable for any child in that age group, because our content is for 3 to 8 year olds. kids like, oh no, I can't eat anymore. I can't eat like an apple. I can't eat like, even if whenever I get a treat of having fries, I can't have fries. And then explain why it go and by how it comes back. So if it's relatable enough, if it makes them, it taps into their curiosity, which makes them kind of lean in. And then you give them a way to also like, when you give them a solution, then they also go out and share this. And we've actually seen that to be a far more like healthy retention method than flashy colors and bright edits. And it still keeps the parent, parents also not worried about, okay, my kid is not becoming like a dopamine induced zombie in that sense.
So now, as of now, you've been talking as a creative guy, right? Like you're talking about the stories, how you are creating the content and stuff like that. And now I want you to wear the hat of a businessman.
Yeah.
I don't think there are enough examples of people saying that, okay, I'm going to build the content, but I also know what my product is going to be. I'm going to like really start from there.
Yeah.
So because you are on that journey right now, how did you really go about like validating how this can be like a significant business? And what other creators or founders can possibly learn from this?
So we honestly just studied how this category monetizes. And it's not complex, right? Like if you break it down, they make money through so there's a syndicating licensing which includes YouTube money, which is there. So
which is YouTube ads and stuff.
Yeah, YouTube ads, or you're giving non-exclusive or exclusive rights of your content to a streaming platform for a region. So because our assumption is that streaming is only the big ones, right? Taking Netflix, Amazon Prime, or you're taking Hotstar. But there are smaller player streaming because. But the thing with the kid consumer is the kid consumer exists everywhere.
But that will continue to be on YouTube?
Depends on the deal. But we have not done anything exclusive where it will not be on YouTube with anyone. I don't think we will ever do that. We will always keep our content for free on YouTube. It might be that, okay, let's make a separate version of this for someone if that becomes a thing tomorrow. Like, Green Gold does this really well, right? They have Chota Beam, which they had made, but they also have Mighty Beam, which they've done for Netflix. So you can take learnings from what you've done, but create an entirely different series. So that's another way which they're doing deals. But our thing was, okay, there is an opportunity to make revenue from syndication, distribution, and those aren't only for OTTs. You will get it for, let's say, hotel chains where, they'll have kids clubs and stuff. You will get it for airlines. You will get it for telecom operators who want to distribute content as well. You'll have to have enough inventory of content that you can give them to put on their platforms. That's one way.
Okay. So is this something that's relevant for all sort of creators, or specifically, there are a few categories that
I think it works
better
for everyone. I think for anyone who has a sizable library of content you've created that is not time bound. Like if I'm talking about
news, it can't.
Like anything which is very topical for now, like an app, even like a tech, right? If I'm talking about a product launch today, it's not relevant to be watched like one month later, forget 1 year later. So a lot of these guys will acquire the content and want to at least have it on their platforms for a certain period of time. So anything topical doesn't work. So while it won't work for all categories, it will work for at least what these guys would want from the audience. Entertaining first will always get a deal. For the non-fiction ones, then you'll have to have like, okay, that niche. Like if it's travel and food based, you might get it easier than if it's about like history. But because history has to then have a slightly more dynamic story behind it to become that. So we see this part as being a very strong funnel of revenue for us. But we know that the larger scale won't come just from that. So we have a very clear idea on saying, can we do live in person? Can we build our own play areas was the plan we had. But we found a strategic partner in, there's this chain called Play and Learn. Yesterday, actually, we launched our first EMoMee life skill zone in Play and Learn. For us, it's great visibility for our characters. For them, it's they're bringing characters into their world. So that's live spaces is a clear focus for us. We want to be present.
I think that's also
physically. Interacting with kids on the ground, kids taking photos with them, engaging with them. So we've actually been able to say, okay, if a kid actually meets a character, then there's a certain like physical human connect that happens that suddenly takes them off screen and makes them a deeper connection. And so we're going to expand that out further. But and what that leads to is if we then also retail merchandise around that space. Like in Hamleys, I remember that we had a certain inventory of products there. In those 10 days, that entire inventory was gone. And so we will drop a lot more merchandise again with partners, or sometimes just do smaller drops by ourselves. Can we tomorrow syndicate our characters to be on a healthy snack, to be on, in anything which connects to our content, build partners that way. So I feel that part is where very big scale can happen, right? Because you can suddenly be physical product category.
So, for EMoMe's growth engine, one of the things that you've spoken about is screen stays in shop.
Yeah.
Plain English.
Yeah.
What is that?
There are 3 ways for us to talk to our consumer. A screen is where they start. They will see our content on a screen. It's also somewhere we can monetize through ads, through on YouTube or AWOD syndication, etc. Eventually, could EMoMe be a movie tomorrow? Possibly, yes. Like everything can eventually be a bigger screen thing, right? Then there's stage, which is live in person. We've done that in Hamley's Wonderland. Now we're doing it with Play and Learn. We'll expand that out. And that allows you to also have physical spaces, which are ticketed. You can also do a shop there, which is where shop comes in, where we have our own line of merchandise and products and consumables, which people connect with. So the way we will grow as a business is through these 3 engines, always growing, always connected, always in parallel. And that's the way the business gets built.
Super.
Yeah.
This has been a great conversation. I think we covered quite a bit. And what is the kind of, for anybody who's looking at something like this, what is the kind of team that we are looking at and what is the kind of investment that we're looking at?
Animation is expensive. I thankfully have a phenomenal creative director who was my first hire. So that's helped my life because he's built the entire animation team out. We are a 6 to 8 member team. As on date, we're going to become, I think, close to a 10-member team in the next couple of months because we're expanding the content we're creating. You will have a burn if you're not making money. So you can spend, depending on who you kind of get in, anything from like 5 lakhs a month to 25-30 lakhs a month. Depends on the team experience you hire. But the problem becomes is that if you wanted to start earning money immediately, then you will have to then say, okay, I have to make money on YouTube and follow what will get me more clicks and views and not necessarily the thesis that you're following. Or you'll have to start selling to brands in ways that you might not if you had the option. We didn't want to make those compromises. I also have the privilege of having had an exit as a founder. So for me to raise capital to start the second company was based on my past exit. I mean, you build a business around content before and advertising. So, okay, you will do something with this. You know at least the basics of building a business. So we got that first pre-seed round for that. We will, whatever we raise in the future will be based on what we've done with it. So I don't think it has to be crazy scale in terms of cost. AI loves that. You just have to find, keep costs tight in general has to always be the motto in content. I remember the first time I used to have a podcast studio to myself when I used to do the podcast. I'd set up a space, did it up. And one of the first people who called me was Tanmay. So Tanmay calls me and says, "Kharcha kyun kar raha hai?" He's like, no matter what scale of content you're doing, every buck you spend, is it worth spending that buck is what you should think about, right? And I think that's very good advice to give anyone creating content. If you can do something without the cost, you should do the thing without the cost. Because it also allows you to change and adapt faster. Now, from the investment POV, what are we looking at? Do we have like any playbook like that in the internet era? So I'll tell you about the brands which we researched. We obviously ran through how Moonbug grew. Moonbug grew by acquiring multiple IPs. So it's not just Cocomelon. They got Blippi. They had Little Baby Worm in the beginning. They had a few others over the time that they've built out. Some they're original, some they acquire. The other one was Paw Patrol. Okay. So when Paw Patrol as an IP became something they made, it was they put out they almost called in for people to give in like ideas of what an IP could be that could become toys. Oh wow! And why Paw Patrol was chosen was it was dogs on vehicles. Kids love cars and cars. Kids love animals. This is animals in cars. Wow! Which is literally what Paw Patrol is, right? And so from day one, they got a streaming deal with Nickelodeon. They were on YouTube and they had toys ready. Which is why it grew so quickly. But tell me something, like
Indian television, they have built a lot of characters, right? From Shaktiman to
Yeah.
Meme you were talking about and whatnot, right? Uh, but like, what is your reading about why is it that we don't have like even a single right now that's sustained for such a long time?
I think the only one which has actually really stayed is Chota Bheem. Of all of them, that's the one which I've seen at least stay the most. Um, I could also be wrong, but one of our readings was that when you become too region specific, the chances of you being looked at as global kind of goes away. So while we don't want EMoMee to ever seem like they're characters from India, we want them to be global characters, but we do use them to talk about different cultures. So we'll talk about cultures from across the world. When we talk about festivals from across the world, we'll talk about Indian festivals, and then we'll also talk about global festivals. So we do kind of seep in culture through that, but we never say these are Indian characters. And what that does is that look at the characters which are popular across the world. Peppa Pig sounds British, but never says I'm British. So the ones which are popularized have always been that. But also, secondly, you have to have enough scale of global distribution to be able to really monetize that. Which is why this cannot just be a region play. It can't be an India only business. It can't be a Asia only business. It has to be a global business, and you have to build it with that mindset. And also, most IPs are built to be content IPs. We are building an IP to be everything. We want this to be on any product. We want this to be in any physical space as much as we want it to be in a video. And that's also where I think a lot of our Indian characters have kind of gotten stuck to one medium. So either you're a comic or you're an animated video or you're on YouTube, but are you everywhere? And have you been built from day one to be that? So even how we've designed our characters, I'll give you an example. We did the Play and Learn launch yesterday. And we just asked kids to come dressed up as Emo and Me. And all Emo and Me have defining characteristics. So E has those two hair buns. So girls came with the hair buns. There are specific things you can put on a character which you have to think from day one saying, can these actually become product manifestations?
Very good insight.
And work from there. If you do it afterwards, then you're retrofitting it in there. Then okay, well, now how do I slap a brand onto my character? Versus saying, no, my character is the brand.
Got it. Now we're talking about having that mindset that I'm going to launch the product, right? And if you were to map out that journey, because offline we are talking about this and you said that, dude, we've been telling all the investors that we're not going to make any money for 3 years, right? From the mindset POV, like how do you decide, okay, once we hit this milestone, then this gets activated, this milestone, or what is your approach to it?
I would say peak, just recognizability for a character comes when you cross a 10 million subscriber on YouTube piece. And with enough share in the region where you want to really start testing a product. So India will always be a focus for us because we're an Indian company. US, UK will always be focus areas because very high in terms of just cart size and ticket value. Like one of the things we were tracking, and we've just dropped the video a few days ago, was that when we put out a long format new set of videos, how many people are subscribed to us are actually coming back to watch. And we saw that a good 60% in the first 48 hours of people who had already subscribed were watching the video.
Oh, wow.
Now, that's a
very healthy number.
It's a great metric, right? So like one thing, and also kids content, because we technically have two customers. We have the parent and we have the child. So you have to also keep both of them happy and keep them both interested in us. This year is our year to kind of fine tune what the engine will be. From next year is when monetization will kick in, because either you as a creator can go like on a curve like this is the peak, or you can go like a hockey stick, right? And IP businesses, my firm belief is a hockey stick. If you try to do this too early, then what ends up happening is that people will feel like you're being sold too far sooner. And so the trust doesn't build. Once you kind of build trust, and they're like, once again, these guys will make the right choice for us. They will not compromise on quality. They will not compromise on what is good for my child in our case. And that's what you need to build as a creator across any categories, that people will like, no, and no matter what, this person will not compromise on what is good for me.
And do you think like this is a format like, okay, let's build a distribution first before we launch a product? Do you think that is a playbook that can be copied in non-kid genres as well?
I think you can do that with food as a category. You can build credibility through that and then eventually do it I don't think you can do it in tech as much.
Hmm.
Because I feel tech is a lot more around innovation and
Time, yeah.
and I don't know how that plays through, but I know for a fact food, even like fashion and stuff, like there is some level of credibility that comes from taste. I think the word taste is becoming more and more relevant because when today AI allows you to create so much content, what differentiates you is not the content. It's the taste or the texture that you add as a human being onto it, right? Because what differentiates you from another person is just that. Because you can all create content about the same thing.
Yeah.
But just your lens onto it, your experience, what relevance you bring to it, I feel that feed into it. So there's a new podcast I came across, and I find their business model be super interesting. They called, if I remember right, so it's called TBPN, right? And I remember that because I also did, it's like it looks like a CNBC set. They have a ticker going on niche. Their videos are live streamed. Don't get massive views, 1,000 views, 2,000 views, stuff like that. But who do they get as guests? Mark Zuckerberg, Satya Nadella, even Spiegel. They actually speak about the fact that they actually don't want to become us. They don't want people to even know about them. But who watches them are these guys. The high end of Silicon Valley watches this, and that's the audience you want to tap in. They have already sold inventory for ads for the next for 26
months.
All sold. All ad units sold. And because they're so hyper focused on this cat, like they like don't want a big audience, short audience. Another one from India which I really like is Sosh TV, right? And again they've really focused on this one, like between 25 to 35 audience who live in an urban city like say Bangalore, Bombay, etc. Just the questions they might have, life they might have. Not hyper focused on like massive numbers, very focused on that community of people. So more they'll do like physical meetup events, etc. So tomorrow they can launch anything for that audience.
Correct.
In the food space, in the lifestyle space, and I know that they will have trust enough. So I think the main currency today is taste and trust. If you have taste and if you have trust, then people will come to you and you'll be able to sell to them as long as you maintain those two things.
Super.
Yeah.
So we have one last ritual at the creator room. As a creator, you have accomplished whatever you wanted to accomplish.
Yeah.
And this is finally Varun saying that I'm done. This is it. And
never gonna happen, but okay.
Yeah. This is the last video. If you were to share the most important lesson that you have learned in this entire journey as a creative artist, what will your message be? I can say
this is not my line.
Started.
This is a quote I really love.
Yeah.
I should have two alternate ideas. I'm just thinking, should I write both? I might just do 2 uploads that day.
Sure.
My spelling is terrible, but I'm hopefully I have not spelled it right.
That's okay.
So I love this quote. I live by it. Is that you don't take life too seriously, you'll never get out alive. Which I think we all need to live by, because the more you do this, and I got into the media space in 2005.
Yeah.
So I've been in this for like, 21 years.
Yeah.
The basics have not changed. I make content to do the same way, this way I was taught as an intern how to make content in MTV back in the day, right? So we take these things too seriously. You just need to learn the fundamentals and have fun, and it'll figure itself out. The second one, which I have spelled the word wrong, is pressure is a privilege. As a content creator, you are consistently feeling the pressure, but that's the privilege you have. The fact that you can do this is a privilege, and that pressure is part of it. So you can't have one without the other.
Absolutely.
I have spelled privilege wrong, but apart from that, those are the 2 I would make.
Super. And also, my team has put together something for you.
Oh, lovely.
Capture your journey into this frame book
so
we are able to do.
That is so sweet, you guys. How lovely. How sweet. Thank you so much. This is super sweet. I just had to run through.
Absolutely. And from our friends at Digitek, they have sent some apple for you, and Digitek is the brand for the creators. I'm going to present this to you in a bit, but thank you so much.
Thanks a ton.